Hello, welcome to Pico Island. I'm Victoria.
I'm Felipe.
I'm Carolina.
I'm Francisco.
I'm Beatriz.
And I'm Rita. And we are here to tell you about our cultural heritage.
Pico Island lies in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and is the second largest in the archipelago of the Azores.
Its volcano dominates the landscape and is basically the origin of the cultural heritage. We're going to describe it in this short video, the landscape of the Pico Island vineyard culture.
Look around. What do you see? Rock, rock, and more rock. Lava, basalt, and yes, the ocean. Some islands over there and another island behind us.
Why on earth would you describe this as cultural heritage? Well, come over. Let's take a closer look.
The landscape of the Pico Island vineyard culture is a magnificent heritage that has passed from generation to generation since the time of the settlement of the westernmost region of our island.
You mean the part of the island that is opposite to that island over there, Fayal. By the way, Pico inhabitants are not very fond of Fayal. You will soon know why.
The legacy left by our ancestors is now thriving after a long period of decline that started in the second half of the 19th century.
A crazy bug called Phylloxera and a fungus called Oidium joined hands, fell in love, and decided to reproduce and devastate almost all the vineyards, just like humans usually do with the environment.
Can you blame these two suckers? Only if you are totally environmentally friendly.
Immigration follows. Massive immigration in American whaling boats. Have you read Moby Dick?
Neither have we, but my teacher says that there are references to the Azores and the Azorian whalers in the Great Book, written by Herman Melville.
Okay, but let's go back in time. At first, no one dared to establish here.
The truth is, this part of the island was described as dark and mysterious, unhospitable, so it was simply left behind.
You wanna know the truth? No one wanted to live here. It was such a lousy place that even Captain Alvaro Dornelas, who was a given possession over the island, never showed up.
He'd rather stay in Madeira, a warmer and more productive island. Bastard.
Even the access to this part of the island was really hard. There are no natural bays whatsoever.
In 1468, Pico Island was taken by Fayal. Remember we told you about some animosity between Pico Island and Fayal? That was just the start.
Anyway, people established in Lages and in São Roque. At first, they didn't know about each other at all. You see, there were no social networks, no Facebook, not even Spotify. How could they live? Gosh, it must have been difficult.
One day a monk called Frei Pedro Gigante, who had brought some vine plants somewhere from a Mediterranean country, decided to plant some vines in the fractures of the basaltic soil and, believe it or not, they produced excellent grapes. Monks were really clever. They needed the wine. Oh, for celebrations, of course.
The experiment turned into one of the best economic periods of the island and of the Azores. We exported wine to Europe, to Brazil, to Macau, to the Americas. In other words, our nectar reached several parts of the world, including Russia, where, some years ago, bottles of Pico wine were discovered in the former cellars of the Russian Tsars.
Oh, and here's an official document of a banquet, where two of our wines were proudly represented in an extensive wine chart. These people knew how to live, right?
Well, first of all, you have to admire how distinctive they are. Take a look at these images. All these walls were made by men, not by aliens. It is said that if you put in a straight line, these walls would be long enough to circle the equator 1.5 times. Huge.
What we really have to admire is the geometry of the reticulate. But you may ask, why did they build these walls?
You may also consider that these walls contribute to keeping the temperature during the maturation of the grapes. You see, basalt absorbs the heat and releases it during the night. A perfect greenhouse, but with no plastic. Smart, don't you think, guys?
What else matters in cultural heritage?
Tidal wells, which were dug in order to get some type of fresh water. Remember, there are no water sources in this area of the island.
Fayal, Fayal, Fayal. Nevertheless, it was these people's vision that made winemaking in Pico so important. It is said that people living in Pico worked and noble families in Fayal got the money.
Both manorial houses and conventual houses had other buildings annexed: cellars, warehouses, and distilleries.
Then you have these simple houses near the coast, some rural agglomerates which are now commonly used as summer houses.
Look at these ruts made in the lava sheets. They were made by the constant passage of the ox carts.
This was a very simple way of showing our cultural heritage. We are very proud of our ancestors' legacy.